Welcome to another edition of the MBL's live video debate show. It's highly debatable here on the MBL network. I'm OSU. I'm hanging out with my man, Sonny Weaver. Sonny, I was just thinking about this during that intro. This is the last weekend. This is the last day of live programming of 2017 here on the MBL network. It's been quite a year on the network, and we're closing out with a bang. We're closing out with these two suckers.
Yeah, I got to mention, you're looking very nice. Show the folks that polo.
You like
right
that
there.
polo? I actually got your polo right here. It's going to be going out, and you're going to be wearing one of those on our next episode of Highly Debatable in 2018.
Yeah, and I was really excited because I thought it would have already been here because you told me you were shipping it out.
Yeah,
so,
no, I had to look better than you one episode. Come on.
Lowered expectations, I guess. That hurts.
Now, speaking of lowering expectations, let's throw up that scoreboard. He's back on the winning track. Everybody loves a good underdog story. OSU with the win, cutting it to 4-3. I think this just proves over and over that everyone loves Rudy, and I am the MBL Network's version of Rudy.
The ultimate underdog story. Not a whole lot of talent, not great looking, not big, not fast, but yet somehow he's still in it.
Yeah, that's what my mom wrote about me on my birth certificate. Just not good at all. Not good at all. Well, we got a very special edition of Highly Debatable. We're going to be talking playoffs. If you don't like the NBL playoffs, I don't know why you're here. But if you are here and you do like the NBL playoffs, again, remember, after round 3, post in the chat, hashtag OSU wins or hashtag Sonny wins. If you're watching this on YouTube, just post that in the chat. That'll determine who wins, and obviously it'll be tied up next week. So let's get to round 1. And in round 1, let's start with the first question. NBL playoffs going to be getting underway. About probably 3 days from now, we'll be kicking off the wild card round. So let's talk about favorites out of both conferences. Sonny, who are your favorites this year in the season 28 NBL playoffs?
So the obvious answers, I think, are going to be Lions and Steelers, but I don't want to be obvious. I kind of want to go, and I think, and I'm going to catch so much crap for this, the Cleveland Browns.
Uh-oh! They're top 5?
They are the favorite in the AFC, and let me tell you why. They got the big win over Pittsburgh early in the year. Jameis Winston has made a difference there. The defense is playing really well. I think that's probably the most underrated thing is they're one of the best defenses in NBL, and defense will carry you in the postseason. I think they can run the ball. Running the ball and, that defense, it's going to travel. I kind of like the Browns out of the AFC. And on the NFC side, assuming they get in, I got to go with the Vikings. Very similar. They've got those 2 wins over the Detroit Lions. I think if they run into the Lions in the playoff, they're one of the only teams in the NFC that's going to be able to beat the Lions. So let me go out here on a limb, and I'm going to say Vikings and Browns. Those are your favorites.
Okay, well, we're gonna go to an edition of OSU's going to pick the correct choices, because I would like to remind everybody, I think it was in the first episode of Highly Debatable, we talked about teams that were going to make the playoffs who were under 500. Everybody got on old OSU, because I picked the New Orleans Saints to make the playoffs when they were at 6-8. They were under 500. Sonny went, go with the person who's bold and picked the San Francisco 49ers. And let me point out that pick was very wrong, even in the terrible NFC West.
Wait. They're not out.
Oh, they're out.
They're 4-10.
No, they're out.
Game left to play this week. A game to play next week. If the Rams and the Seahawks both lose, they're in.
I'm just saying the New Orleans Saints are in the playoffs right now, so I'm going to go with the right choices. On the AFC side, the Pittsburgh Steelers are the best team in the NBL. I don't care if it's obvious. I don't care if it's too easy. They're the best team in the NBL. That's plain and simple. And let's point out that the Pittsburgh Steelers tend to only get better once it's playoff time. They're the best team. To your point of the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota Vikings, yes, 2 wins over the Detroit Lions. That's nothing to discount. But those wins were in Week 1 and Week 3. The Detroit Lions, since their Week 3 loss, they've lost 1 game since then. That's how good this Detroit Lions team is. The Vikings have, I think, stuttered in the second half of the season. You sort of looked at a team that was looking to be a power. They've lost some games they shouldn't have. Everybody went, this is the power of the NFC North looking to defend their title. They're sitting there at 9-5. I'm pretty sure they're going to be in the playoffs. But I think the Lions are the team to beat in the NFC. If you're looking at other teams who are the favorites, I'm going to keep riding this team that I continue to think is hot at the right time. That New Orleans Saints team, Ross Bonham is back. This team's going to be in the playoffs. They're going to have a tough, they got to win a wild card game. So that's always a big one. But we've seen wild card teams, you win that first game, it gives them a whole lot of momentum. I think with a healthy Ross Bonham, this Saints team who's sitting there at 10 wins, they still have a chance to win the division. I think this Saints team is sort of that second favorite, but the Lions and the Steelers are the top two teams right now. I don't care if it's easy. Call it obvious. They're the favorites.
It is obvious. I can't disagree with you. However, I do not see the Lions winning the NFC.
Timbo in the chat saying Harvey Beckham is the X factor of the NFC. Sonny, is he really an X factor? Doesn't X factor basically mean somebody that nobody knows about? I think everybody knows about HB18 and what sort of weapon he is for the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, I would say Harvey Beckham's a very well-known commodity. I don't think there's any X factor to it. He's good. He's really good. So what's there to say about that? Like, there's no.
I don't know if he's an X factor. I think he's just a factor. Well,
he's just the factor.
Let's talk about something I think is a little more interesting. Let's get to round two. And in round two, we're going to talk about who are the sleepers. Now, again, we're looking at these divisions. There are a lot of divisions that aren't even set yet. So we could be talking about teams that don't even make the playoffs. But we're going to look at teams who sort of have that sneaky chance to work their way into the conversation for a Super Bowl. I'll take the first one here, Sonny. I'm gonna name two teams that I'm gonna call sleepers. And the first one, there may be a dispute as to whether or not they're a sleeper. I'm going to go with the Seattle Seahawks. Yes, those Seahawks, because for some reason, the Seahawks come playoff time, find a way to be good. Even when they're going to get into the playoffs at 7-9, okay? I'm saying they're going to win that division. They're getting in at 7-9. They are unbelievably horrible in the regular season, but they find a way to get to the playoffs. They give themselves a chance. I know it's weird calling them a sleeper. This is a Super Bowl champion team. But I think they're a sleeper team because everybody's counting out that NFC West that is absolutely horrible. And I think the Seahawks, come playoff time, they buckle down. So look out for the Seahawks. In the AFC, I'm going to take another team that I don't think anybody thinks is a sleeper, only because of who their owner is. I'm going with your Tennessee Titans as the sleeper in the AFC. I just absolutely doomed you in the playoffs. I absolutely doomed you. You are hosed. But here's all I'm saying. The Tennessee Titans are 12-2. They have 2 losses, one to this guy right here, one to the best team in the AFC, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that game was closer early than it ended up being at the end. I know that I know that the Titans are Mr. One and Done in the playoffs, but I think the Titans this year, this is an explosive offense. Their defense is playing better. And Inu is one of the best defensive players I've seen. Look out for the Titans in the playoffs, folks. And if this means I doom Sonny and the Titans to a first-round loss, we'll call this an old win-win situation.
Yeah, this really puts me in a weird position right now because I feel like I have to agree with you. Because, obviously Titans, but let me go ahead and I'm going to take a different perspective on this. And this is a little weird. And I'm going to say this and you're going to say sleeper. How are they a sleeper? But in the AFC, I'm going with the San Diego Chargers. 11-3. You say, how can they be a sleeper? You got to understand that this team has been hurt constantly. They are always missing guys. When they played the Titans earlier in the year, they were without their top 2 wide receivers. So if they can get healthy, this team can make a run. They can be really good. They can beat the Steelers. They can beat the Titans. They can beat anybody in that division. So watch out for those San Diego Chargers. Nobody's talking about them right now, but I think they got a chance to win that AFC. On the NFC side, I'm going to throw out another name here. Give me the winner of the NFC East, right? Because we're still trying to figure out who that's going to be. Is it going to be Cowboys? Is it going to be Giants? But neither are coming in with an impressive record. Both 8-6 currently. I think either of those teams could find a way to win. The Cowboys found a way to hang around with the Lions. Now, they weren't challenging the Lions, but they just kept hanging around, and it makes you feel like they could pull something off if they had to in the playoffs. The Giants, we know they're explosive. They got Stokes. They got Beckham. They got all the players there. They lost Petaway earlier in the year, but that Giants team's explosive as well. That's a team I don't want to necessarily play if I'm one of the top 2 seeds in the NFC. So for my sleepers, I'm going to go Chargers and Giants.
Well, I like the pick of the NFC East team. I do think it's going to be the Giants. I think the Giants are going to get into the playoffs, not knocking the Dallas Cowboys. I've been on the Giants train since the beginning. I think the Giants are going to get in, and I like that team out of the NFC. The Chargers, I mean, again, I'm in their division. I know how good this Chargers team is. And I do agree. They get Bosa back this week. They get Melvin Gordon back this week. But here's my concern. I just don't buy into the quarterback situation. And Cardale Jones has been a major step back from what Phillip Rivers was. 11 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Most would look at that and go, well, that's not that bad in the NBL these days. But the way the Chargers have turned the ball over sort of at an alarming amount, and I think owner Gubb and that coaching staff has seen what Cardale Jones can do, and they see him more as that game manager, which means they're going to rely on Melvin Gordon. And my fear is once you get to the playoffs and teams know what Cardale Jones does, which is he's a fine passer, but you're going to be looking at some mistakes at times, you're going to start loading the box, and you're going to make him beat you with Cardale Jones. And I just don't know if the Chargers can do that. But with Bosa healthy, that defense gets a lot better. I look out for the Chargers. I just don't know if I buy into Cardale Jones.
Yeah, Cardale Jones is obviously scary, but they do have some really good receiving threats on the outside there. And that's something I think you can't underestimate for that Chargers team. And they haven't been healthy all year. So that's something you gotta look for. One team we didn't talk about, I know we talked about kind of on the pre-show production meeting a little bit, Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills in the AFC. They got to get in still, but yeah. Yeah, they're my 1B. I think in this is if they get in, that defense is nasty. The offense leaves a lot to be desired, but that defense can score points. That defense can shut you down and make you do some really dumb things from the offensive side. So what I'd have to tell you is, they would be kind of my other sleeper if we weren't okay with calling an 11-3 team asleep.
Well, okay, let me ask you this, Sonny, before we get to our round 3 topic. You look at teams, I'm looking at the Buffalo Bills, I'm looking at the New Orleans Saints specifically. How much is it momentum getting into the playoffs? How much is it being talented? Because we've seen this Pittsburgh Steelers team win Super Bowls, and that's based a lot on their talent. They are a talented team. We saw the Seattle Seahawks win a Super Bowl. They got hot at the right time. When you're going into this season, would you rather be the most talented team going in, or would you rather have the most momentum? Because if we're looking at momentum, yeah, that Buffalo Bills team is hot, and that New Orleans Saints team is hot.
Well, being hot's great, and we've seen hot teams come in and go one and done. My teams. But anyways, momentum's good, but I think a lot of it has to do with what kind of momentum. Is it big wins over big teams, or is it just a long winning streak of beating up on bad opponents? The flip side to that even is it's tough to beat good teams multiple times. So you look at some of these guys that have, we talked about the Vikings earlier. It's true they have owned the Lions so far in this season, but it's hard to beat a good team 3 times. So, and
then you get into the playoffs. I mean, the Lions in the playoffs, that's a tough task.
Right. So, we talk about it. Momentum's great, but I think a lot of times it just comes down to kind of that clutch factor. Do you have it when the lights get bright?
I mean, here's all I'll say before we get to round 3 is I'm looking at all these teams. I'm looking at the standings right now. My one concern about the Buffalo Bills, they're 5-6 inside the conference, and that is not a very good. It means they're doing great against that NFC, but you got to beat the teams in your conference first. They have struggled against their own conference. They still got to get in. We're looking at Week 17 game, Jets and Bills. That may be our NBL live game because that's going to be for the division, depending on what the Jets do this week. The Jets still need to win this week, I believe, but that's going to be for the division for all intents and purposes. So let's get to round 3, and this is the fun one. I mean, let's just call it what it is, Sonny. Our next Highly Debatable is probably going to be a pre-draft edition. So even before the whole playoff field is set, before everything is done, you can see it up there. We've had 2 champions in this cycle, Seattle Seahawks in Season 26, the Pittsburgh Steelers in Season 27. It's time to put your money where your mouth is. Who you got? Who's taking home the trophy this year? By the way, the one thing we haven't talked about, Sonny, which I think is unbelievable before we get to your pick, is the fact that the Pittsburgh Steelers, did you see they re-signed Ben Roethlisberger? That dude is the ageless wonder, still kicking around in Pittsburgh. Who you got winning the NBL Super Bowl for Season 28?
Well, what I got playing out here is I do believe that the Chargers find themselves in the AFC slot in the Super Bowl. My sleeper comes through. They represent the AFC on the NFC side. I'm going to go ahead and go with the Minnesota Vikings, and I'm actually going to take the Chargers to win the Super Bowl over the Minnesota Vikings.
So you're giving Gubb his second NBL Super Bowl title.
Unfortunately, I am.
Wow. That's bold. Well, I've gone back and forth as to who I think's coming out. I think out of the AFC, I think it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think the Steelers find a way. The Steelers they're gonna finish out the season. I think once the Pittsburgh Steelers get into the playoffs, they're just a better team. They hit that second gear. I'm gonna go with the Pittsburgh Steelers out of the AFC, and out of the NFC. There are a lot of teams out there that are real good. There are a lot of teams out there that I want to go with. But I think this Detroit Lions team is the hottest team down the stretch. I'm going with the Detroit Lions. I think the Lions beat the Minnesota Vikings in the playoffs and get the monkey off their back. I think it's going to be a rematch of the season 25 Super Bowl. It's going to be Steelers and Lions, the commissioner battle. And I think the Detroit Lions come out on top. I'm picking the Lions to win the Super Bowl this year. It's going to be a little bit of a disappointment. I think it's going to be a little bit of revenge for Bomber and the Lions after their the season 20. I've seen a lot of matchups. We've seen the Steelers and Lions match up a lot. The Steelers have had sort of the upper hand in this one. I just think the Lions, the way they're playing down the stretch, this is the hottest I've seen this Lions team in a long time. Ever since they lost those 2 games to the Vikings, they've hit another level. Harvey Beckham, I think, is the difference maker. I think the Lions come out with a win in the Super Bowl over the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then we get to listen to Bomber brag about that one for a while.
you know,
I don't like that
obviously, we talked about it. That was the obvious pick. I think the Lions are going to get their first round bye. I'm not sure they're going to see the Vikings based on your own call that the Saints in there. Being so hot, watch out for that. Watch out for that. I think the Saints could maybe upset the Lions in that second round. We'll have to wait and see.
Ready for this?
But
I'm gonna call this right now, though. This is my call right now. The AFC Championship game. It's gonna be the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Tennessee Titans. I'm calling it right now. I'm calling it right now. Just to cause a little PTSD in your mind, I think the Titans get to the AFC Championship game, and I think the final score of that one is the Pittsburgh Steelers 94. The Tennessee Titans somehow come up with negative points on the scoreboard. I'm not really sure how that happened, but I think that's going to be the AFC Championship game. The NFC is a mess. I mean, the NFC is an absolute mess. We don't even know who some of these playoff teams are, but it'll be fun to watch. And speaking of fun, go ahead and post in the chat, hashtag OSU wins, hashtag Sonny wins, who won this episode of Highly Debatable. Let's get to our shout-out. It's shout-out time here on Highly Debatable. Sonny, I'm thinking of doing something a little different here. Tomorrow is the eve of the New Year's, so I'm thinking we do a little New Year's resolutions. Little MBL edition of New Year's resolutions. Sonny, I'll take this one first, and my MBL New Year's resolution. I'm gonna throw a shout out to my boy over at the New York Giants, Bananas. I think the New Year's resolution for the New York Giants and Bananas should be to follow the rules. Just follow the rules, man. That's all I want. And just next year, New Year's resolution. Follow the rules and show up for your playoff games. That's all I'm saying. 2 New Year's resolutions for the Giants. I love you, Bananas. I keep doing what you do. I've been loving those videos that Bananas and Timbo have been throwing up, hyping these NBL live broadcasts. Keep doing those, guys. Love those. But that's my New Year's resolution in the NBL. Also, I'll throw one out to Sonny Weaver. Don't be 1 and done. Be 2 and done. Come on.
There you go. 2 and done. Sounds much better. So my shout out is to my good friend and main man Deca Dog. His New Year resolution is going to be to not throw 40 interceptions with any single quarterback. He currently sits at 71. Deca Watch 2018, folks. So I think the 40-day challenge is going to come through for Deca. I think Bomber's going to get him straightened out. And Deca's New Year resolution is going to be to throw less than 40 interceptions in a season. And Deca, I believe in you, son. Get it done.
Are you going to pick the Philadelphia Eagles to make the playoffs like you did the San Francisco 49ers?
Not a chance.
Nope, not happening. You're not rolling out with that one. New Year's here on the NBL Network. We appreciate everybody tuning into Highly Debatable. Programming note, we got some NBL live action. You see that guy over there? I'm pointing the right way this time. That's old Sunnels over that way. Yeah, you got an NBL live game coming up. Jaguars and Titans. Jags need a win to get in. Titans, you guys are still fighting for that number 2 seed, I believe. What are you looking forward to in that game? You've already seen this Jaguars team once. I mean, how good is this 8-6 Jaguars team?
They're hot and cold. They can go.
They're yes and no. They're in, they're out. Shout out to Katie.
They're standing toe to toe with the Titans early in the year, and they turn around and lose to the helpless Houston Texans. So,
hey, that Texans team. I mean, what they were 1 win, and who do they have wins over now?
I think Playa, Unisolated, and TFA. 2 of those teams just went in too confident. I think real cocky, went in there, got beat up a little bit, and that's how it goes.
Well, we're going to get out of here. We appreciate everybody tuning into Highly Debatable. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube, post down in the comments, hashtag OSU wins, hashtag Sonny wins. Keep posting those in the chat. We appreciate everybody out there. A very happy new year to everybody out there. For all the people who support the network, we appreciate all you guys. We will see you in 2018, but we're hoping to see you a little bit before that. We're looking in about 5 minutes right here on the network. It is Jaguars and Titans, an AFC South battle between 2 rivals. One has much more respect for the other, I think. I'm not going to say which one, but it should be fun. Sonny, Happy New Year to you, and a Happy New Year to everybody out there. You've been watching Highly Debatable, and we'll see you in 2018.